What are some ways that you can engage the next generation of co-op members? That's what we'll be talking about on this episode of the Story Connect podcast. My name is Andy Johns, your host with Pioneer, and I'm joined on this episode by Chris Alexander, who is Member Services Coordinator at the Electric Cooperatives of Mississippi, and Lydia Walters, who is the award-winning VP of Communications over at ECM. Thank you all for joining me.
Thank you, Andy. Good morning.
So we are here at kind of the epicenter of rural electric communications here at the NRECA Connect Conference in Kansas City. And I did want to say right off the top, congratulations, Lydia, on winning our Davanzo Communications Leadership Award. That was exciting news for us to get out there, and I was really glad to be able to come by and present that award in person last week.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you for coming, and then especially thank you for the award. It was a huge honor. I'm still a little blown away by it. So thank you very much to Pioneer. And
thank you to somebody else who's on this podcast for kind of helping with the subterfuge or the secret work of surprising you. So
also, please. Thank you, Chris. Of course.
We're going to mainly be talking about two projects or two programs that you guys have. So tell us a little bit right off the top. The goal is youth engagement, getting that next generation of cooperative members engaged. Lydia, if you don't mind, tell us why that plays. That's something you hear a lot about right now. That's a lot of folks talking about that young member engagement. Right. Tell us a little bit about what role that plays overall in the efforts that you and other co-ops are doing.
Right. So that's a great question, Andy. First of all, I'd like to start out, we kind of do a 3-phase program in the state of Mississippi, and our taglines are also our objectives. So it's learn, grow, experience.
I like that.
So we engage the students. They learn about electric cooperatives at their local Cooperative University. They grow in their leadership skills at our workshop, and then they experience Washington, D.C. and the NRECA Youth Tour. So that's kind of the 3 steps of our program. And one of the things that we've really, I think, tried to do for engagement is to do a lot of hands-on learning with our students.
Okay. It's interesting. I know a lot of folks are familiar with the youth tour piece of it. And I was talking to a communicator at a co-op here yesterday, and she talked about when she was on youth tour. And so I think a lot of folks are familiar with that piece. But the other 2 pieces of that, I think folks may not be as familiar with, because that's something that y'all are doing. So Chris, tell us a little bit about Co-op U.
So Co-op U is a program that the local cooperatives host. I think 18 of our 22 cooperatives actually hold a Co-op U. So they invite students in from local communities. They have relationships with the schools.
Okay, that's important.
And through the counselors at the schools, they invite the students to come into to their cooperative. They host a day event there, and they call it Cooperative University. The students come in, they spend the day there learning all about the local cooperative and the impact that they're making on their community.
Okay. And then Lydia, tell us a little bit about the workshop aspect of it as well.
Sure. So we have a workshop. Once the students are selected at the Cooperative University, then they come in, it's usually late February, early March. It's a 2.5-day workshop, and it's all focused on leadership training. And I always tell the students before they come, I said, you're not going to sit in a chair for 3 days. You're going to be up and moving. So we have facilitators who come in, they lead them in leadership activities, and then they sit them down and they kind of have discussion with them. What leadership skills did you use? What might have you used? How could you communicate better? And so what we see is kind of the program that, as Chris just talked about, they learn about the co-op, and then they really learn their own leadership skills. The other thing that we do at workshop is we have breakfast with the legislators, and we have it in Jackson. Our hotel is about 4 minutes from the state capitol. So we take them over. They visit with their legislature. They see the House or Senate that's in session. So they also get that kind of leadership piece and learn more about the democratic process at the state level.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So the big picture with what we're trying to achieve, what y'all are trying to achieve here, is, I imagine it's part recruiting, part like, hey, we're a good place to work. It's part, that cooperative difference, kind of explaining to them what the difference is. Chris, when you're looking at this kind of the bigger picture, what are the goals when you're going about this, when you're building that curriculum and making it all happen? What are you trying to achieve with programs like this?
Well, a lot of things.
Sure.
Obviously, we want the future leaders of our state to grow in their leadership skills.
Mm-hmm.
So the other thing that's really important that we focus on is connection. So that's another benefit of having the program broken out into 3 parts like that.
Okay.
Because the students all come in and meet each other at Cooperative University, and they immediately start making those connections and building those bonds with one another. So from there, the ones that are selected to move on through the program and go to workshop, by the time they get to workshop, they've already got friends. So they spend that time together in Jackson, those 3 days, further establishing those connections. So by the time we get to DC, they're buds. I mean, it's the
same kind of cohort throughout. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
it starts in the fall. The workshop is held in the spring, and then we've got that trip in the summer. So it's a slow burn.
Okay. All right. So when you're looking with the group like that, we talk kind of big picture. Let's get down into the nitty gritty. You guys are handling selection, or the individual co-ops are handling selection. How do you go about picking which kids? Because I imagine it can get fairly competitive if the outreach is good from the local co-ops.
Right. I'll use an example of Dixie Electric. That was co-op I worked
Sure.
out before I named it statewide. So what we did, and every co-op kind of has their own
Of course.
setup. It's very similar, but they each have their own little unique take. But what we did at Dixie is we would go to our local high schools. We had 12 high schools. We'd select 3 students. So we would bring them in for the Cooperative University, and they would spend the whole day, learn about the co-op, learn about careers in the co-op industry. They learned a little bit of history, but it was hands-on learning, as we mentioned before. And so through that, we would select a top 10, and then the following day, those 10 students would come back and then do an interview with out-of-town judges who were normal employees of co-ops.
Of other co-ops. That's smart.
Co-ops. So, and then all of the, some of them do their interviews the same day of, some do a nighttime Cooperative University. Everybody kind of does it a little bit different, but they are watching these students. They're observing their participation along with their interview skills.
Got it. Now, Chris, you said that y'all were working with the schools, with the counselors. A lot of the kids, I imagine, who are doing this are the driven kids that are involved in band and sports and everything else. How do they fit it in? How are they able to prioritize? Is that something y'all are working on the schools? Is it just summertime and breaks? How does this fit into their schedules?
Well, we actually have kind of coached our local cooperatives to talk to the counselors and say that we don't just want valedictorian.
Okay.
It's not about a student who's 4.0.
Okay.
The most what you would traditionally think of.
Sure.
We want students who are kind. We want students who are smart. We want students that are leaders in their community. And like you said, that may mean that they're busy. But our program has been around for 38 years, so we have a bit of a reputation, a good reputation.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think that our former students are our biggest advocates. I know we had an incident this year where the student that we actually chose as YLC told us that some other students are the ones that told him, hey, no, don't go for that. The cooperative program, that's the program you want to be involved in. So our program speaks for itself, and it kind of snowballs once word gets out there, and they see the good that our program's doing and the impact that it's making. Good news travels fast.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Lydia, how has the curriculum changed, or what do y'all do different? I mean, 38 years is quite a run. What are some of the things that y'all do different? Are there different things that y'all go over now? Because these kids are growing up in a different world than the ones that we grew up in.
Right. So that's a great question. Chris and I actually had this conversation over coffee this morning, and it has evolved. We've really been doing the Cooperative University since about 2006. Prior to that, we had essay interview, competitions. But now what we're seeing more is technology, just like you would expect.
Yeah.
So, we're showing them our high-tech dispatch rooms. We're showing them, not only is the lineman using traditional gear and traditional PPE, but he also has, a high-tech GPS laptop or iPad in his vehicle. And so we're showing them all of the different aspects and all of the different careers that they can be involved in, whether it's computers, engineering, those type things. So the other thing that I think is it's also kind of basic, but we take it for granted, is we teach them how electric power gets from the power plant to their house, and they actually have to take pipe cleaners and Play-Doh and build the little electric system in small groups. And we have so many students, so I just thought I flipped the switch. I didn't know where the power came from.
Sure.
And so it's teaching them technology, but it's also teaching them basics too.
Sure. And I imagine that's good for the instructors too, to kind of be reminded that not everybody gets all that. So yeah, interesting. I've heard, you mentioned essays a second ago. I've heard some of the different, whether it's youth tour groups or whatever, that with AI coming in and how are they doing things different, Have y'all shifted anything, Chris, on the application process? I mean, do y'all check to see if AI is helping with the applications? Do you care? I mean, in some ways, it's kind of good that they're using technology. I don't know.
Sure. Well, yes. I mean, you should be aware of AI and know how to use it. However, we don't accept essays any longer, so that's been a non-issue for us.
Okay.
And now it kind of goes back to something we talked about with engagement, and that was another conversation we were having, is we really feel like, I mean, as we know as communicators, the best way to engage is face-to-face communication, just as we're doing this morning.
Right.
And so we've really kind of moved away from the essays and really tried to do more hands-on, face-to-face learning with these students, because even the students that aren't chosen at the Co-op U, there's a group, at 35 students, we would choose maybe 3. So those other 32 students still learned about their cooperative. They still had a full day of hands-on learning.
Okay.
And we also know the ripple effect of that is they're going to go home and they're going to tell their parents or their grandparents, hey, I learned all these things at the co-op.
Yep.
So it kind of ripples the community. So we just found that that's a stronger way to really teach them.
As we're coming to a close here, Chris, what are some of the favorite topics that people learn? I mean, is it the pipe cleaners? What is it that the students go in, and it's the ones that kind of the most buzzworthy things that people are talking about? And then Lydia, I'll ask you the same question.
I think it's different for everyone.
Okay.
But I mean, again, I hate to beat a dead horse, but I feel like that the thing that they value the most is the connections that they make
With each other?
with
Yeah.
one another.
Sure.
Yeah, because I think that, and I know it's so cheesy, but I think that it really broadens their horizons.
Sure.
Because a lot of these students are from very rural areas, and they've never been outside their county, their city. And so for them to go meet people from across the state and then across the country at youth tour, they see that there are people out there that are different from them, and they're still good people.
Got it. Makes sense. Lydia, what do you think some of the highlights are for the student involved?
2 things come to mind. One is I think it builds confidence in our students. I've seen a lot of students come through the program and they're a little nervous and they're a little shy. And by the end of the program, it really, they're comfortable doing public speaking. They're comfortable with an interview. So I think it's a confidence builder. The other thing, and I think this is something that I didn't even realize that we were doing until we did it. It just, good things happen by accident sometimes.
Sure.
And that is we really build Mississippi up to our students. And we really encourage our students to stay in the state. So they're meeting their local elected officials. We get to cheer for the SIP when we're at youth tour.
Right.
And we really, encourage them to make up a cheer with, and that they'll come up with all kinds of fun things.
Okay.
And then we'll have students on their evaluation that said, I've never thought about really being proud of my state before, but I'm really proud of my state. And I think that means a lot. And it's kind of one of those things, I don't think anybody...
Yeah, we didn't sit down and make it a goal.
Right.
It just was a happy
It just happens, yeah.
Perfect. Well, last question for you. What's some advice, and Lydia, we'll start with you and then we'll hop to Chris. What's some advice you have if somebody's thinking either they're listening, I can start a program like this, or maybe it's even a more basic level, I need to engage our youth a little bit more. We can get into advice on chaperoning folks when you're, a bunch of teenagers out there. But, if somebody's thinking about, I need to do more of this, I need to start a program like this, what advice do you have for them if they're trying to get started?
I think a Cooperative University is a great way to engage students. And so if you're involved in the youth tour program, use it as your selection process. Chris or I'll be happy to share any information, agendas, ideas, because I think if you can engage those students one-on-one, if you can give them hands-on learning, I think it makes a huge difference.
Chris, what advice do you have for somebody who's starting at square one?
Yeah, I would most certainly check into hosting a cooperative university and building those relationships with your schools. We use promotional materials that the statewide provides. We customize it to each local cooperative so that the local cooperative can give those materials to the schools, and they can hang posters in the hallway, have flyers that the counselor will hand out. To get the word out about the program. And like I said, once you get the ball rolling, the program will speak for itself.
Got it. Well, thank you all so much for sharing the ideas. I think folks will be into that, and hopefully, they, like you said, they can reach out to you if they have any additional questions.
Okay. Thank you, Andy.
She is Lydia Walters. She is Chris Alexander. I'm your host, Andy Johns. And until we talk again, keep telling your story.
Story Connect is produced by Pioneer Utility Resources, a communications cooperative that is built to share your story. Story Connect is engineered by Lucas Smith of Lucky Sound Studio.